You are the icing on my cake. You are the smile I can't replace. You are.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and I am planning a wedding. So basically, if you haven't been here before, my channel is really about the whole wedding planning process from start to finish as I go through it over the next about 10 months. I am my own wedding planner, so that's basically what my videos are really going to be about, from the health and food and exercise side to all of the planning and tips and tricks and all kinds of different stuff regarding planning your own wedding. So today's video, I have 5 mistakes to avoid when you start your wedding planning process. Definitely let me know if you like this kind of video, because I would love to do a lot of different tips and tricks videos and mistake videos and stuff throughout this entire process, but this one's really tailored to you just got engaged and you are just starting to think about your wedding. These are mistakes to avoid in that very beginning phase as you're starting to get ready for your own wedding and planning it yourself. The first mistake I would avoid is not getting engagement photos. A lot of people do this, which actually really surprises me, or they kind of go as cheap as possible on it and have like their mom or their sister or their friend take the photos. It is so important to get professional photos that you're gonna love for your engagement photos. Whether or not you're using them on the save the dates or you're just having them for yourself. We debated for a while. We didn't get our engagement photos until 2 months after we got engaged, because we were really debating getting them and we were debating how cheap we wanted to go on them, and we ended up definitely splurging a little bit more. But the photos that we got are so incredible, and I'm gonna keep them in the house like the rest of my life. We're gonna have them at our engagement party. We'll probably have some of them at our wedding. They're just photos that we will look on, like back on, for the rest of our lives, and I think that's so important. That's definitely something that I would say to avoid making that mistake. Get your engagement pictures done. You are not gonna regret having them. Number 2 would be hiring vendors that are friends or family. Now, I'm not saying you don't do that at all. Like, you can totally have a vendor that is your friend or family, but I think it's very important to avoid just doing it without really looking into it. There's a lot that goes into getting your vendors and your venue for your wedding, and you really want to make sure that it's going to be perfect. Just because your friend might do it for free or very cheap definitely doesn't mean that it's going to be the quality that you want, and you definitely want to avoid issues, because let's be honest, as a bride, you're gonna be stressed out. There's gonna be things you want a very specific way, and if that can't be done by, the venue that your aunt owns, that can definitely mess with that relationship a little bit. So I would definitely say to be very careful in who you are using as your vendors. Honestly, I think it's more of a business decision over anything regarding family. Number 3 is do not book your venue if you don't have a general idea of how many people you are inviting to your wedding. Now, we actually kind of made this mistake, and luckily for me, it's gonna turn out fine, but a lot of people will go book the venue because that's super important, and they book really fast, especially if you're doing it in the fall. That's super popular. But you might say, okay, I'm gonna do a barn venue and it can only hold 100 people, which is kind of what we did. And then you realize, once you do your invite list and maybe your +1s and your friends and your family and all the different people, you might even allow your parents to invite some of their friends that are kind of important. There's so many different people that you might not have thought of, and when you make that guest list, if you have 200 people on your list, your venue cannot hold that, and you can still try, but it's gonna be so uncomfortable. Luckily for us, we kind of realized that our invite list was a little bigger than we thought it was, but our venue can hold the amount of people we'll have no matter what. But I would definitely say to be super careful about that, because, smaller venues are definitely cheaper a lot of the time, but if you're inviting over the number of maximum capacity, you probably shouldn't book that venue. Number 4 is one that I definitely think a lot of brides are guilty of making this mistake, and that is being pressured into who your bridesmaids are. I know a lot of people that, have a lot of close friends, and that pressure can quickly build into so many people thinking that they're going to be your bridesmaid, and before you know it, you have 15 bridesmaids. If any of your friends are your real friend, they'll understand if they're just not one of your bridesmaids. If you don't want to have 10,000 bridesmaids, you do not have to, and it's nobody's right to get mad at you if you don't choose every single one of your friends. If you haven't talked to them in the past year, you might not need to have them. If you haven't seen them in the past year, you might not need to have them. The last mistake, number 5, is not setting a budget. Now, it kind of probably sounds redundant. I feel like everyone knows that you would have like a wedding budget, but it's really easy to start wedding planning before you have your budget and all of the different breakdowns on what you're willing to spend on what. If you want to see a budget breakdown sheet, I will actually post a link down below to my blog where I actually have like a budget cheat sheet that you can totally look at if you need a little bit of help. But you definitely want to have at least a ballpark estimate of exactly the amount that you do not want to go over for your wedding, and you want to break it down into percentages and how much you're willing to spend on different things. Because if you go over in one place, like for example, I already booked my photographer and I did go over on that part, you take it away from somewhere else. So, you know, I went over on my photographer, I totally did, and because of that, I'm probably gonna cut it back a little bit when it comes to maybe flowers, maybe cake, maybe my dress, who knows. There's gonna be a place where I'm gonna cut out a little bit of that money on purpose so that I can still be within the big budget for the entire wedding without going over. All right, those are my 5 mistakes for you guys to avoid as you start planning your wedding in the very beginning stages. Like I said, I'll totally do more of these if anybody finds them useful as I go through the planning process. This was really tailored towards the very beginning of starting your wedding planning. You can also check out my blog post down below that goes along with this video. It'll have a lot more detail on the 5 mistakes, how to avoid them, some cheat sheets and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely let me know. Comment down below if you liked this video. Give me suggestions for some other wedding videos that you want to see. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe. I have 10 months until my wedding, so I have a ton of wedding videos to be putting out. If you're planning your own wedding, this might be the perfect place for you to be. All right, and I will see you guys in my next video.